Hello everybody, it's Navate and Happy New Year. This is my first video of the new year, so I'm so excited to be back filming. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to create a budget and actually use it, right? I just want to give you guys a little bit of our story. In 2015, I saw this blog post and they're like how I paid off like $30,000 in debt. And I was like, man, I'm married. So I told I told Kelvin, I said, honey, I really think we can do this. And so long story short, we started, figuring out what we need to do. The first thing that we did was get a budget. And for a while we were doing it online, like on a spreadsheet on the computer. But then we heard Dave Ramsey and he was like, you should definitely write it down if you can every single month. And so that'll give you, more access, more responsibility, more control over what you're actually putting on your budget sheet. So I was like, oh wow, that's such a great idea. And so now every single month, Kelvin and I write down our budget. Going back to my story, we were able to pay off over $70,000 in debt. So I'm like, woo, thank you, Jesus. I'm so happy that that journey is over. And now we're just continuing with our financial journey, saving up, trying to invest more, wanting to get a house. And so those are different things that we're interested in doing. And guess what? We still need a budget. And so before I jump into how to create the budget, I want to just share some stats with you guys. When I was reading online, 1 in 3 American households actually use a budget. So that leaves 70 to 75% of individuals out there who do not use a budget, right? So that's a lot of people. The second stat is that 1 in 2 individuals or 1 in 2 households live paycheck to paycheck. That's something that we were able to find recently in this government shutdown. I think it's so sad that all these families are now having to, just kind of figure out, wait for the government to figure out what they're gonna do with their budget so that they can get back to living life. They really, literally didn't have anything to fall back on. And really, we're going on to maybe the first, second, and third paycheck that they're gonna be missing. Third thing is the average American household or the average American has about $30,000 in student loan debt. So that only includes people who actually went to school. But if you did, great for you. You don't have student loan debt, but most of the time people have some type of credit card debt or any other thing that, they use to fall back on. And so what today's video is going to do is just give you something that you can put in your hand and that you can actually use to be better financially, right? The biggest thing I think for a lot of people is they have more month than money. So what that means is they get their paycheck and it's already spent before the day is over, right? And now you have to wait another 2 weeks to get paid and you're like, oh my gosh, all my money is already gone. What do I do? And so making a budget and telling your money where it's going to go is going to be one of the best ways for you to actually stop that habit and then ration yourself or give yourself a budget until the next paycheck comes in. And then you can start saving and doing a lot of other different things. But for today, if you want to learn about how you can create and actually use a budget month to month, keep watching. This is my little budget sheet. I'm just gonna hold it up. I know you probably can't see the actual numbers, but I literally type this up, and every month Kelvin and I print it out, and every month we do a different month. So for this one coming up, it'll be February 2019. And so every month I type this up and then we print it out. Okay, well, I don't type it up. We just use the one from the initial. All right, so first things first, you need to list all of the categories that you spend money in, okay? So for example, I put rent, insurance, internet, phone, credit card, car note, electricity, groceries, eating out, entertainment, okay, because we need to have fun, all right? Spending money, and student loans and gas, okay? This is just a rough draft. If you have other expenses that you spend money on, be sure to include those in this list as well, because that's what's going to be able to help us figure out exactly how much money we're spending every single month. Okay, the most important thing here is to make sure that you're listing every single thing and that every single thing is accounted for that you actually spend money on. All right, so that includes the little stuff that you spend here and there, the stuff that pops up, okay, like towards the end of the month, you have a birthday party, you have an unexpected bill that you have to pay, make sure you put that in the category list, okay? So on the next row or the column, I have projected, okay? So for each one of these items, you're gonna put how much you think you have to pay every single month for this, all right? And like I said before, this is monthly. And so how much do you expect to pay for rent this month? How much do you expect to pay in insurance this month? How much do you expect to pay in gas this month? Are you traveling? Are you staying home? How is your money going to be affected by these different categories? What most people do is that they go and they get paid, and then they pay all their bills, and then after that they say, oh, I have all this extra money that I can use for myself, right? I can do what I want with it. Wrong, okay? So what I want you guys to start getting in the habit of doing is writing down all these things and then putting a projection of how much money you think you're actually going to spend on those things, okay? And then at the very end of the month, you're going to go back and look at the paid column, okay? In that paid column, you're going to write down exactly how much money you spent in each one of those different categories, all right? This is probably the most important thing to do, because oftentimes we may underestimate how much money some of these line items can be, right? We underestimate them. And so it's going to be really important for you to go back at the end of the month, preferably maybe around the 25th, 26th, 27th, so that you can prepare for the new budget, okay, for the next month, and write down everything that you spent, okay? Obviously, if you spend money on the 30th, you're gonna have to put that on here as well, but just to start, looking at all the expenses all together, okay? Now, at the bottom, you're gonna total up what your projected cost was, and then you're also going to total up what your actual cost was, okay? So, important note here, it doesn't do you any good if you just write down how much you projected if you don't write down how much you actually spent, okay? The purpose of this is for us to track every single dollar that's being spent in our bank account, right? And so if we're gonna do that, we have to be honest with ourselves, and we have to write down every single thing that goes out of our bank account, okay? I know I keep saying that, but in order for us to track and see where all of our money is going, we have to get diligent and write down all those different things so that we can see, oh wow, I spent less money in my phone section, or I spent less money on my groceries this month. Cool. Now I know for next month I can adjust that, all right? A lot of researchers say that it takes about 3 months to get used to a budget, just because you're getting used to how you spend money, you're trying to evaluate it, you're trying to see exactly what your habits are. And so basically all this is just showing you what your habits are. Do you like to, have late night binge eating contests? Do you like to go travel, just out of nowhere? What are some things that, get caught up with your money that you don't realize that you're doing? Using this budget sheet is going to help you to do that, okay? And 2, when you're writing this down, make sure you use your bank statement if possible, if you have it, Chase or Wells Fargo, whoever you use, so that you can get an accurate measure of how much money. You don't want to just say, oh, I'm going to spend this much, and you actually don't, okay? And so also too, when you put all of those items listed down on the budget, go and look at, okay, how much am I actually making after taxes, after they take out everything from my check, how much am I taking home, and then how much am I actually spending? That's going to be really important as well. When you tally up all of those projected costs, you can also see, wow, I spent a lot of money in that section. How can I cut my costs there? Or, you may notice that you overspend or you underspend in certain areas. And so you can say, wow, you know what? I can use that money in this category to help me out, right? So this, like I said, is going to track our habits, specifically our spending habits, so that we can cut, trim, and maneuver our money and redistribute our money to places where it's gonna, be working better for it. Hopefully, making this budget will be your first step in getting an accurate picture of what your money looks like. I know, like the research suggested, a lot of people don't actually use a budget, but I think when you actually, write everything down, you realize, wow, this is actually very informative and I actually have control over it. That's the whole point. I don't want you guys to feel like afraid of your money or scared, like, okay, yes, I got myself into $50,000 in debt, but I didn't have to stay there, okay? I got honest with myself and I said, okay, this is what it is. This is what my budget looks like. What do I need to do to cut down as much debt as possible? And we did it. Like I said before, we paid over $70,000 in about 20 months. And so that is doable for you, okay? Anybody out there that's watching this video, that is doable for you as well. So, like I said, first step, get your budget, write down all those expenses, write down all the projected costs, and then at the end of the month, write down all the actual costs. And then guess what? From there, you can now start planning your month for the next month. You can start planning your budget for the next month. And so this is for February, right? Now I can start maybe on the 29th or 30th of the month looking at March, all right? What do I expect to spend in March? You always want to do your budget before the month starts. You don't want to do it when it starts, because then you can maybe kind of lose count of some of the things that you spent money on. Plus, you don't get a chance to allocate the money when it comes in. So definitely try to make your budget before the month starts, okay? I hope this has been helpful for you guys. Let me know if you use a budget. Let me know if you have any fears associated with using a budget, or why you don't use a budget in the first place if you don't use one, okay? Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos associated with money and how we can be better with money, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.